Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Chase at Rocky Mountain. Thank you for checking in. So we have it. This is the new 2023 Fox Instinct 2.0. So for 23, Fox has gone through and completely revamped their boot lineup. You now have the Instinct 2.0. You have the Motion that sits below this. So price on these are about $560, the Motion about $450, and then you have the Comp boot, the entry-level model, which is going to be in the mid-200s. And I'm really happy to see that Fox has gone through and done this. Now, specifically with the Instinct 2.0, if you watch the other videos that I've done on the previous Instinct, whether it was the product spotlight, the ride review, or even the versus videos that I've done, then it is no secret that I really like the Instinct. In fact, it's probably my #1 go-to boot of all the premium boots out there. And the reason for that is just because the Fox has always been phenomenal at having good flexibility right out of the box, hardly any break-in time, and the feel on the foot pegs and the control, I think, is the best in class. Those are the reasons. However, that doesn't mean that the Instinct was perfect. There are some things that even I felt could be improved upon, and Fox did a great job. They talked to their pro-level riders and just the general population just to figure out how can we make this better, and they've updated that. So some of the big updates you're gonna notice, because looking at it visually, it does look very similar to the previous Instinct, but here are some of the big updates right away. It's stiffer. So some riders complained that the Instinct, the previous Instinct, after it had a few hours in it, they felt like they just wanted a little bit more support, so they've stiffened this up. I'll explain how they did that. Another big update is the fit. So with the previous Instinct, some riders talked about how it was about a half to a quarter size too small, a little bit narrow in the toe box. So they've updated that. And last but not least, they've also updated the buckle design, which I think really needed to be updated. So I'm glad to see that they've listened to the riders and the public, and they have done that. Now, I do want to point out too that when you compare this to the new Motion boot, aesthetically, they're not the exact same, but they're pretty dang close. And at the end of this video, I'll do a quick little comparison between the Motion and the Comp to help you decide which one might be best for you. So stay tuned for that. But let's go through and talk about it here. So like I said, it looks similar to the previous Instinct. There are some subtle differences though when you do compare the two side by side. But as far as the fit goes, so this was a big thing for Fox. They went to Italy. They found a company that specializes in making foot molds. And what it's called is Elast. Elast is what they just have as a mold. And what's cool is that all three boots now, the Instinct, the Motion, and the Comp, all have the same exact foot mold. So it's the same fit. And so what Fox is saying is that they went through, they widened the toe box a little bit, which I've tried these on, haven't ridden them yet, but I've tried them on. It's definitely a little bit wider than the previous Instinct, and the fit, as far as length goes, is also going to match up much more closely to just your standard size. So if you wear a size 9, 10, or 11 in your shoe size, get that size in these boots. But here's another cool update, is that they have half sizes available. They have a 9.5, a 10.5, and an 11.5. Those are your most common sizes. So if you get a size, say 10, you think, you know what, I think it's a little small, I want to get 10.5, you can do that. And we have our fit guarantee, which means if you do say get a size 10, and you think it's a little bit too small, you want to exchange it, you could send it back in brand new unused condition, and we'll give you free shipping both ways on that first exchange to make sure that you get the size that you're going to be happiest with. So those are some of the big fit updates, which again, they're a welcome change. They needed it, so glad to see that they did do that. Another big update too, like I said, they've made the Instinct 2.0 stiffer. And so with the previous Instinct, like I said, that was one of the features that I did like about that boot, is that right out of the box, you didn't really have to break them in. They just had enough range of motion that you could just go ride in them and feel like you'd already put several hours in them. That being said, one of the downfalls is that the Instinct, once you got it pretty broken in, it lost some of that supportive feel. And so I can understand why riders said, hey, we want the boot to be a little bit stiffer, especially those top level guys. And so what Fox has done is they've still maintained the good range of motion right out of the box. So you still have their dynamic core stabilizer. So you've got the hinge system on the medial and the lateral side. So brand new out of the box. I'd say it feels a little bit stiffer than the previous Instinct did. But what they've done on this boot to make it stiffer and maintain that stiffness or that supportive feel is inside the tongue area, they actually have a polyurethane insert, which is going to add to the stiffness, the hyperflexion, so when you're bending your knees. So what's cool about that though is not only does it make the boot feel stiffer, but that insert is going to help it maintain that supportive feel throughout the life of the boot. So again, that was a welcome change for that. I also do want to point out that when you look at the Motion does not have that polyurethane insert inside the tongue. So the motion is going to be similar to the previous Instinct, where it's about the same feel right out of the box. Honestly, I don't know if you'd notice a difference, but over time, the Instinct 2.0 is just going to maintain a little bit more stiffness, more support. So just something to keep in mind there. But they've done that. Now, as far as the construction of the Instinct, so same thing here. You're getting a microfiber base, which is a synthetic leather. You've got TPU here over top the toe box, big old plastic shin plate. That's one difference. You notice if you compare this and the Motion side by side, the Motion does have a little bit smaller shin plate, so aesthetically just a little bit different there. But if you look at the back here, you can see you've got all this hard plastic here on the back of the heel, so great impact protection there. You've got that dynamic core stabilizer that wraps all the way around the back, and then you've got this hard plastic that comes up the back of the boot as well. And not only are you getting this shelf right here, which is going to have that contact, but also this little insert right here that comes up and in, that's also there to help prevent and slow down and stop that hyperextension. One thing about the Instinct that I want to point out that I actually do kind of like is you notice that the toe box, just compared to some of the other boots out there, they're not all like this, but it's got a good amount of flex right here on the toe box. And the reason that I like that is on the left foot, when you're shifting, it just helps you give good feel when you're up shifting, so you can really feel that shifter. And again, it's going back to feel on the bike. So that is one thing that the Instinct 2.0 does really well. Like I said, I haven't ridden them yet, but I can already tell, I put these on, I got on a bike, just kind of felt the foot pegs. It maintained the great feel that I'm used to, and I was really happy to see that. All right, buckles. Let's talk about those next, because that's another big update here. So with these, so still a 4-buckle design. The big update here, though, is that with this piece right here. So the strap design has stayed the same, and it's a ball and socket. You take your strap, you drop it in, and then you just snap it down. The big update here, though, is that with these buckles, they've increased the length, so you have more leverage, so it's easier to snap down, and they've changed the shape a little bit. So before, it was actually a complete open design with the buckle, and they were shorter. And to be honest, when they got dirty, they can become a little bit harder to snap down. And because those buckles were so short and kind of pointy, honestly, sometimes it kind of hurt your finger when you're trying to pry them up or even snap them down. So with these, you just take it, snaps into place. So that is an update, which in my opinion is a much better design than what they had previously. All right, let's talk about the hinge system. So like I said, dynamic core stabilizer. You've got this hinge that wraps around the entire boot. So you've got these two pivot points. This is going to help with two things. The flexibility, so like I said, right out of the box, good amount of flex, but it's going to help with that. But also it's going to give good lateral support, so rigidity side to side. So again, this is going to be the same system you're going to see on the Motion, but one of the differences between the two is that with the Instinct, you're getting full coverage here on the back. With the Motion, it's going to be a little bit more open here on the back of the boot. And one of the major differences, you notice that they have a hyperextension lockout right here. So if you overextend, so you're bending this direction, eventually this piece here is going to contact this shelf that you have on the bottom of the, or on the top of the heel, and stop that range of motion. You don't have that on the Motion boot. So that's another one of the major differences. But as we flip it around, we look at the medial side here. So new also for the Instinct 2.0 is they're using what they're called their UltraTac rubber. So they were using a material called DuraTac, and it's just the grippiest rubber that Fox could find to give the most grip on the motorcycle when you're squeezing. And so you get that UltraTac. This entire bottom portion here is all going to be that UltraTac. And then right here on the ankle, this is also going to be that UltraTac. And then as you work your way up, this whole burn guard here on the inside of the calf is also going to be that UltraTac. And so I can just feel with my fingers, it is a very grippy material. And again, this is another one of the updates. So jumping from the Motion to the Instinct 2.0, on the Motion, they just have a textured plastic here on the bottom as well as right here on the ankle. You still get some of the DuraTac, which is what they used to use on the Instinct up here on the top of the Motion. But to me, this is a big deal. Because when you're squeezing a motorcycle, one of the contact points that you're contacting the most between your boots and the bike is right here around the ankle. And that's one area that you're gonna notice really gripping the bike good, is right here in that ankle area. You're gonna notice a difference right here with this section on the Instinct 2.0 versus the Motion. So that is one thing that you would wanna pay attention to. But again, you've got that on the inside. If we talk about the sole, so the sole looks very similar to the Instinct previous model. However, again, difference being you're going to have that UltraTac rubber. But here's a couple other upgrades that are new for this model. So Fox actually sent me all the goodies. I got them right here. So this is actually what the inside of your boot looks like. So if I were to pull this whole thing apart, This is the insole, so an EVA foam, and you can see it's pretty thick, got a lot of padding, which I like. But then you have this fiberglass nylon insert, and this is actually what would, when we talk a lot about shanks inside a boot, so this is essentially what the shank inside the Instinct 2.0 looks like. Same thing on the Motion, but it's a nylon fiberglass, it's very rigid, you can see, and this is gonna give a lot of support to your foot. However, you'll notice that from the back here, as you move to the front, it tapers down. And the reason for that is they want to have a little bit more flexibility up in the front. Again, going back to giving as much feel on the foot pegs as possible. But another safety upgrade that they've done is in the back here, you now have this insert, which is an impact absorbing foam. And the reason for that is just if you have a crash, if you have to hit the eject button in the air, if you land on your heels, if you've ever bruised your heel before, it sucks. I've done it. They take a long time to heal. So this is there just to help absorb some of that impact if that were to happen to you. So that is a welcome upgrade with this Instinct 2.0. Also with the sole, another upgrade here is now the sole's replaceable. However, here's the difference. If you wear through this sole, instead of you going and buying a replaceable insert and just getting this centerpiece right here, Fox is actually going to send you an entire outsole. So you get this whole piece here when it comes time to replace that. And this is actually about 10 millimeters thicker, I believe, than the previous outsole on the old Instinct, so you're gonna get more durability out of it. And the reason that they did this, that they wanted to just have one single piece to replace the entire bottom, is they said that it's easier, so when you go to replace this, you would take it to a shoe cobbler, they peel the old sole off, and then they glue this one on, and they say that it's easier for them just to replace the entire thing than trying to just replace this center insert right there. And another reason I'm happy to see that is because, for some riders, for me, for example, I typically don't wear out the arch of the foot as much as I do in the toe box area. So it's nice that I would also be able to replace the front of the toe box as well and not just this centerpiece. So that's another cool upgrade that they've done. And then last thing I do want to point out is on the inside. So it's the same moisture wicking antimicrobial material that they're using on the inside, but as you get down to the bottom, there's a lot of padding around the ankle. And that's one thing I like about the Instinct 2.0 as well, is that it does a great job of securing the ankle, keeping it in place. I don't feel like I get hardly any heel float whatsoever, but they also have a little suede strip that you can see sits in the very bottom right where your heel is. And the purpose for that is just to add a little bit more grip there to keep your heel and your foot locked into place so it's not wanting to lift up off the footbed. So again, that's something that they carried over from the previous Instinct. I think they did a good job. All right, that is the new Instinct 2.0. So some of the big highlights here, a quick little recap. The fit is updated. They're stiffer than the previous Instinct. They're gonna maintain some of that stiffness. The buckle design is updated. And again, with the sole, you've got that impact absorbing insert there, and the whole outsole is replaceable. So all the changes that they've made, I felt were needed. So props to Fox for doing that. And again, if you're looking at the Motion, there's a little over $100 price difference between the two. And I love the fact that Fox is giving you the Motion, which I'm gonna say it's there to compete with, say, the Tech 7 from Alpinestars. But you're getting almost all the same features, just at a lower price point. So again, it's not gonna be as stiff, you don't have as much coverage in the back or that grippy rubber material on the inside, but aside from that, they're pretty dang close. There's a few little subtle differences in the appearance, but it'd be really hard to tell. Honestly, if you saw a rider from a distance wearing the Motion or the Instinct, you probably wouldn't know which one he has on. So again, props to Fox for doing that. If you have questions or comments though about this boot, we would love to get those answered. So make sure, leave those down in the comments section below. To grab yours, click on the link or head over to RockyMountainATVMC.com. After I ride in these, we're gonna have a ride review, so be sure to check that out. We also do have a video going through all three of these, the Instinct, the Motion, and the Comp. So if you wanna know all the differences and a quick breakdown, be sure to give that a watch as well. We ship for free over 75 bucks. If you want to stay up to date on product spotlights like this, get subscribed to the Rocky Mountain YouTube channel, hit that notification bell, and that's gonna keep you up to date. I'm Chase, we'll see you on the trails.